Hi, my name's Bella, and I'm from the Ingredients app, which is a team made up of Ryan, Luke, Danielle, and myself. And I am going to talk to you about what we built and why we built it. So, the Ingredients app is exactly what it says it is. It's a web app that lets you keep track of the ingredients that you have at home so that it can recommend recipes or let you know what you may need to pick up from the shop in order to cook tonight's dinner. So, why did we come up with this? Really, it's to allow you to keep track of what you have at home so that you do not buy things that you do not need, because you'll be able to see this is the recipe that I'm able to cook based on all of the ingredients that I already have, as well as allows you to pick recipes which optimize what you already have and therefore say, oh, you might only need one more ingredient to be able to cook tonight's dinner. So really the outcomes that it's looking to create is the fact that it lets you be more organized, have more awareness of what you have at home, and ultimately therefore use what you've got and spend less money when you are going for your food shop. In terms of front-end technologies, we built this with HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and React, as well as NPM packages like React Router, Axios, and prop types. There is some snapshot testing with Jest just to check that our app is rendering correctly. And we did use authorization to allow users to sign up, to log in, and to tailor their preferences for what type of recipes they would like to see. To show you that code in a little bit more detail, this is our front end. You can see we've got our components, our requests, our styles, and our tests, where really you can see from our app overall, this is where we have our different routes there. So we've got a route that on our home page, that basically is our recipe page. So that's right away just showing these are the recipes that suit you. If a user is signed in, then they'll be able to see those. If they're not signed in, then actually we have set up our app so that it will say, if you're not signed in, then please sign in or become a member. So that way we can actually render the recipes that are related to you and to your inventory. A couple of other things to show here is that we have got this component which is around adding an item. So if someone would like to add an item to their recipe, they can do that. That is what would then push to the back end to say post these ingredients to our back end. But also we have used an API to be able to then say, if these are the ingredients that we have in our back end, this will show you the recipes from the API that those ingredients in the back end would then allow you to make. So that's just some of the functionality of the front end of our app.
My role within the project was the back-end side of things. It was all built using Node.js. We used MySQL for the databases in order to store the users and the passwords. We used Docker as a container and used express.js for the API. The NPM packages included course, NodeRun, and .env. Ones that are left off there was also using bcrypt and JSON Web Token. Bcrypt for encrypting the passwords that the users put in, and also the JSON Web Token for a similar thing, just added a bit of middleware security. We also used an external API called Spoonacular that we found, and this was used for all the ingredients, both listing the photos for them and also just getting a conclusive list of each ingredients and the recipes. We used routes controllers and middleware for registering, logging in, stored everything as a hash password, and also used JSON Web Tokens in order to allow the user to access things behind the login security page. Here's some of the code that I wrote for my part. So first of all, we've got the actual area that we create the database from. It goes into that .env file for a bit of security. I would pop that in a gitignore file as well, just the .env. Yeah, it creates that users table there, and that's where we store the emails, the name, and the password for the users. And then we've also got the routes and controllers here. For the registering one, you can see in this part here, this is where we get the encryption of it using that bcrypt package. You can see we use that .hash function that stores it for that added security, so the password's never stored as just the string itself, it's always encrypted behind that. If I had a bit more time, I'd have added a bit more validation and things here. All that I really did was just for if an email was already in use, then it would return this. So another interesting aspect of it as well was the things that were behind, like that log on wall. Like I said, like after you'd log on, you would go to this auth, which comes from the middleware side of it, which uses those JSON web tokens to verify that the user is who they say they are. And if they are, it will let them on. If it doesn't, obviously, like, they won't be allowed to go any further. A lot of the user stuff for that login page was all done here, and then the API stuff was more in the front end using Axios and things like that.
Hi, my name's Danielle and I'm from the Ingredients app alongside Ryan, Luke and Bella. I'm going to discuss with you the agile software development practices that we use to set up the app. Firstly, we use Miro, which is an interactive whiteboard. Miro uses post-it notes where we brainstormed our various ideas and how we wanted our app to be rendered and also the structure of the app. Each member of the team was given various roles and responsibilities. We started off with the main customer journey, page 1 being the signing in homepage, page 2 which was access to the contents of your fridge, your cupboard and your spice rack, and then from there you was also able to identify what items you would need to match you with a recipe. Page 3 was your account information page, which was holding all your signing in and your login page. This would then render information from the back end using SQL and also a recipe API. We also needed to identify how we was going to investigate retrieving a recipe API that we could use and keep it simple on the back end. We also used a project tracker called Trello, and on here we identify a to-do list, who was doing what needed to be done, and ways in which we were working, which was on Monday and Wednesday in the usual lecture time. Sundays was also our independent working days, but we could also link up if we needed to, and we also built the whole app within React. During our development, we used Slack and Google Meets to keep in contact and up to date on who was working on what, and also who needed help for some of the areas that they were working on. We kept a rhythm of a meeting every Monday and Wednesday, starting with an update on what we were working on and what we hoped to achieve. We created and merged new GitHub branches when we developed new features. There was various problems and challenges and scope for development within the app. Firstly, authorization was an area which we identified as an issue. Secondly, linking front end to back end. And thirdly, additional functionality to improve the user experience was also areas which we identified as an issue. The scope for development was updating the account details, including the preferences, sign out functionality, and also personalised inventory. Across the team, we also identified that we were struggling to connect to the port with our Mac, and that was across the board. We felt if we had less limited time constraints, then we would have been able to render an app that was fully functioning.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Ryan. So we just wanted to say a few thank yous. First, I'd like to thank the team. They're a great team to work with, and I think we did really well with the time that we had. Also, a big thank you to Manchester Codes and all the tutors. They've been a great support over the last 6 months, and we couldn't have done it without them. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a short demo of our app. Okay, so here we have the sign up page. You'll be presented with this upon your first visit to the app. So you got your standard name, email, password, any recipe preferences. So I've already made an account, so skip this bit. So here you've got your basic sign in, email and password that you signed up with. So if I submit, so you can see where I'm now signed in. So now we go to inventory. So here is where your inventory of your items, your ingredients that you've got in your house will be stored. As you can see at the moment, there's nothing to show, so we should add a few items. So you've got a little search area here. So let's say add some chicken. So we've got 100 grams. Store it in the fridge. There we go. What else do we want? Let's say tomatoes. There we go. Turmeric. 50 grams of that. And the spice rack. What else have we got? Onion. So this here, as we search, this is just pulling down from an online API. So we send it a query and it returns anything that it thinks is relevant, along with the images. So we got 2. And then finally, let's put some in the freezer. So we got some peas. Okay, so we've added those items, and if we now update our inventory, let's just close this so we can see. So as you can see now, those items are now stored in our inventory. So this is stored in a database on the back end. So if we now want to find out what we can make using these items, but we may be close to be able to making, so we go to our recipe section. So we show our recipes. So here we have, currently it's given us 6 results. We can change this to be as many as we like, and it gives you them in order of how many ingredients you are missing, so how close you are to be able to make each of these recipes. As may have been mentioned a little earlier, one issue we did run into with each of these is supposed to have a link associated to them that will lead out to an external website that will give you instructions on how to make it, but given the time constraints, we didn't quite get there, but it's something that's definitely achievable. Okay, I think that might be everything, and thank you.